Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Movie Season. Today we're going to be continuing our horror month. We're going to be doing our 2000s horror movie tier list. So, last time I think we got once I finished recording, I realized there was like 2 or 3 movies that, I forgot to put in there, and that'll probably happen this time too. So I think I got most of the big ones and some of the ones that are kind of, like cult classics and stuff like that. So hopefully there won't be any major omissions or anything. So Justin, when I was looking through this, man, the 2000s had a lot of good. It was a really good year or decade for horror.
Yeah, I mean, early 2000s, staying like towards the end of the 2000s, you started getting a lot of I think, when Saw came out, you started getting some of those type of movies that started coming out towards the tail end. But there's a lot of variety. You had some slasher remakes. You had some, you had an introduction to a new franchise with Saw and Jigsaw. And then you had some really, and you also saw that big push of Japanese horror getting remade, The Ring, The Grudge, you had that big push there for a while, but there's definitely some hidden gems in there. There's definitely some big time horror classics in the 2000s. And I think it was kind of a fun decade for horror because there was a lot of mainstream horror, that a lot of these movies did pretty well at the box office.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is just alphabetical. So we'll just kind of go in order based on what it's looking like alphabetically. So, all right. First one is 13 Ghosts.
Do you want me to go first, or are we doing this together?
Yeah, I mean, because
I got the list in front of me. I'll make mine, and then you tell me what yours is. Are we going to come to a consensus here?
Yeah, just kind of like we did last time.
All right. Well, I really like 13 Ghosts. I don't think it's as strong as some of the other movies that were kind of in the same time period. But I really like it. It's got a great cast. It's got a fun, premise. Tony Shalhoub, seeing Tony Shalhoub kind of headline a horror movie was kind of cool. Matthew Lillard, again, he was just like a staple in a lot of these teen movies, that were coming out at this time. But overall, I like it. I don't know if I love 13 Ghosts, but I really like it. So for me, I'm putting this either low B tier or high C tier. I'm thinking I'm going to go B tier, though, just because it does have some really good kills and some really unique killers. And like I said, I just really like the premise, with the glasses, the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and say B tier for me.
I'm good with B tier. That's what that's my initial thought was B tier. All right, 1408.
I love 1408. Really, really love 1408. I rewatched it last Halloween, and it's so good, man. John Cusack is great in it. I love the whole build up. My favorite part of the movie, oddly enough, is the first 45 minutes of it. I feel like it kind of loses steam towards the end. It's got a pretty great twist, but I really like 1408. So for me, 1408's A tier. I just think it's a cool classic ghost story. Really good cast. I kind of like the whole a writer inside of a one room type of genre, movie, so that's A tier for me.
Yeah, this is one that the first time I saw it, I liked it, but it's grown on me the more times I've seen it. I'm good with A tier as well. And like you said, it does a really good job of ramping things up. And it's just unsettling, and when you kind of think that, all right, this is you kind of think you have it figured out, and it throws you a twist or two. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of 1408. All right. This is a movie that you saw not too long ago for the first time. 30 Days of Night. I'm going to go ahead and say, I know I'll probably be higher on this than you will be. I love 30 Days of Night. I think it's very underrated. I don't know. I wouldn't even put it in S tier for me, but I would put it in A tier.
No, it doesn't even belong anywhere near S tier. And I'm not trying to hate on it, but 30 Days a Night, man, They totally waste Ben Foster in this, by the way. Like, I was really hoping for more Ben Foster. I think anytime he was on screen, it was really good. I mean, I'm a big fan of Josh Hartnett. We kind of talked about that in a previous episode, that I really kind of liked the variety of roles he kind of took. I'm just not huge on 30 Days a Night. I mean, there's nothing really that I can point to that I'm like, hey, this is why I don't like it. I just was kind of bored with it, and for a movie that, it seems like it would be kind of action packed or kind of scary, I just kind of was bored with it. I mean, for me, if I had to pick it, it would probably be low C tier for me. So I'm willing to compromise. Put it in B, I guess, but I don't think it belongs anywhere near the top.
This might be one I use my challenge on to throw it in A tier, because I really like 30 Days of Night. All right, next is American Psycho.
So where is it? We coming back
B.
to it or something?
B. No,
right.
I'll put it in B.
I'm putting it behind 13 Ghosts here.
All right, American Psycho.
This is one that definitely belongs in the upper half. Here's the thing with American Psycho. I think the performance is incredible, and I've rewatched this one. I know a ton of people would have it in S tier. I don't know, man. There's something about this movie.
I don't think it's S.
I know there's some people that are like, this is one of their all-time favorite movies. For me, I'd probably put it in high B tier, and the only reason I'm not putting it higher is, again, just because I really like the performance. I think it's a really cool movie. It's unique, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It's not a movie like I want to continuously rewatch a lot. And so when I'm kind of like picking my favorite movies or the best movies, I like to see how much I like to revisit them. And there is a bunch of like rewatchability with this movie. I love the satire of it. But yeah, for me, it's B tier. I think it's a solid movie. I just don't, it's not one of my all-time favorites from the decade.
I'm okay with B tier. I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. Honestly, for me, the best scene in this movie is the first scene. I guess it's like the second scene of the movie where it's showing him through his like daily routine. I just think that's like, because you immediately after that, like what this guy's all about. That it's all about image. It's all about kind of that perception of wealth and perception of success. So yeah, I'm good with top of B tier.
Well, and it's based on the Bret Easton Ellis book, and it's kind of a satire of the whole '80s Wall Street type mindset. You kind of saw that a little bit with not near as like on the nose, but Wolf of Wall Street kind of dived into that culture. But yeah, I do think that when it initially came out, I don't think people really, unless you read the book, I don't think people really knew what to make of it. I think, when I watched it, I'd kind of heard a lot about it and kind of knew what I was getting myself into. But it's really good. Like, I would have no problem with somebody having it higher. But since it's our list, I mean, for me, it's a B tier movie.
That might be one that we come back to, just depending on how many we have in A. Because, I mean, like you said, I could see it. I wouldn't put it in S for sure, but I could see it creeping up to A depending on what else we have.
I could see it in A too. It's high B tier for me. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this next one's probably one that I know me and you have seen. I'm not sure how many other people have seen, but Behind the Mask, I think it's like the Legend of Leslie Vernon. Mm-hmm. So this is like one of those kind of documentary style movies where someone's following around a serial killer, and he's kind of talking about his method and his how he conducts his business, and he's trying to become like a legend, a horror icon or whatever. This is a good movie. It's got a cool premise. At the time, it was one of the first movies to do this. Since then, Creep and other movies like that have kind of done it way better, but I would say C tier for this.
I'm D tier. I know there's a big like kind of cult following for this movie, and I admire it. It's a super low budget movie. I think it's a really creative idea. But like you said, when you see something like a Creep, and again, I don't know if I'd even want to really compare. I mean, it's similar, but this one definitely goes for more of like a, hey, we know what we're doing. Creep feels like it's not doing that. It's not doing that meta thing, in my opinion, as much.
Yeah.
And
I'm good with D.
You know,
D's okay.
Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of the movie. I do appreciate the work that went into it, but it's just not for me.
All right, Black Christmas.
I will just say the original Black Christmas was one of the all-time greatest horror movies ever made. But this is so much. The smartest thing this movie did was not try to be anything like the original. This movie kicks so much ass. I really enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's an extremely fun, like almost so ridiculous it adds to how good it is. For me, this is A tier because I really enjoy it. I think it knows what it is and it kind of doubles down on that. I'd be okay with a B tier, but I don't want to go lower than B.
I'm okay with A tier.
It's not because I think it's great, but it's just I love that it knows what it's doing.
This is one we saw in theater, and I remember leaving the theater and we were just like, man, that movie was a lot of fun. And just, you know, the way that they like introduce the villain and do all that, I just really like it.
There's great kills, great backstory. It's like 2000s horror, man. They were kind of remaking a lot of things, and this is
one of the better remakes.
Yeah, it was just.
This
fun.
is one of the better remakes, in my opinion. Yeah,
and sometimes horror movies need to just be fun.
Yeah, I said this was in alphabetical order, but I guess some of these aren't.
They mostly are. So I'm looking at the list. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so next is My Bloody Valentine, another remake of a, what was it, 70s or early 80s? Early 80s?
I think it was very early 80s, I believe. I think it was 81 or something.
I think the thing that this had going for it is it really utilized the 3D thing really well when that was like still like a thing. But as far as movies in the same kind of genre, I don't think it's that great. I'm gonna say C tier for me.
I think this is a solid movie, but I'm good with C tier. I think the performance is really good. I think that, you know, I don't think it was scary, but it wasn't really supposed to be. You know, it's kind of like, you know, the same pattern of like who's the killer type thing. I didn't want to just do a throwaway like, yeah, C tier. There's a lot of good things with this movie that I really enjoyed.
No, there is, and it utilizes the 3D thing really well. But again,
yeah, I'm good with,
it's not
I'm
a
good with
movie
C-tier.
that. Yeah, it's not a movie that I revisit a lot.
It's better than 30 Days a Night, but we can put it in C tier.
No, it's not. You stop that. It's not even close. Cabin Fever.
I'm looking at. I'm just thinking it's funny that I'm looking up there. And it's Black Christmas ahead of American Psycho. I like that. I love Cabin Fever, man. Cabin Fever is a great horror movie. It's I really enjoy this one a lot. For me, it's A tier. The only reason I'm not going S is because I'm really wanting to keep S to like. I want to keep S list small. I'm trying not to go too many at S. But Cabin Fever, I wouldn't even mind if it was. I think Cabin Fever is really well done. A lot of gross out stuff. A lot of good. You know, it gets in your head a little bit. It's one that I revisit from time to time, and I think it's really well made. Eli Roth kills it with this. A tier for me.
For me, this would be a B tier. I agree with almost everything you said. I'm not as high on it as you are, but it does do, like, to me, this is Eli Roth's, and I'd have to really look at the rest of his catalog, but this is one of his best for sure. Because it kind of has that like gross out stuff, but it never feels like over the top or kind of gimmicky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, by far Eli Roth's best movie. And I think that it's because he keeps it kind of subtle for the most part. Like he doesn't, and all I mean by that is like when you watch Hostel and you watch, you know, Green Inferno and all this, like he goes absolutely balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Like with the gore effect. There's some really good gore, but just the scene where she's shaving her legs, like even before you see any blood, that's like, you know, it's one of those paranoia movies, and I love movies where like the characters are out doing something, there's paranoia sitting in, they're kind of turning on each other. I forget the actor's name, but the blonde-headed guy in this is just awesome. He's so good in it. He plays that role so well.
Isn't it the guy? He was in a bunch of those movies like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
I just don't remember his name, but he's so good in that. You know, Ryder Strong from Brilliant World's in it. Like I said, man, I'm a big fan of it. I want to put it in an A, but I mean, if if we need to put it in B, I'm okay with that too. But for me, it's A.
We'll throw it in A right now. I might have to.
I'm putting this above. Your list can look a little different than mine. We'll have it in the same, but on my tier right here, I'm putting it at the top of A tier for me.
Okay. All right. I haven't seen this one, so I'm going to have to leave this up to you. Cherry Falls.
Cherry Falls is amazing. It's an amazing. I remember when I was growing up, and like this movie was supposed to be like so. There's supposedly like an unrated cut that's just, you know, but you know how that can go. Like sometimes the urban legend of it is more than what it really would be. But I just remember this movie, and I could be remembering this wrong, but me and my friends were all like, "Man, are we going to watch Cherry Falls?" Because it was going to come out like to USA Network or something like that. And anyway, I just think this is a great movie. If I'm not mistaken, this is like a Canadian horror film. It's got Jay Moore. It's got Brittany Murphy. Again, it's a total, you know, Scream type of movie. You're wondering who the killer is, but they do some fun twists with the whole, like, you know, the virgin genre, you know, subgenre of, like, you know, the virgin is the last one to die type of deal. It's just a really cool movie, and that's all I'll say since you haven't seen it, Chris. But for me, I would put it in B tier just because I don't think it's like an absolute classic, but it's a really underrated slasher movie, and I think it's really well done. And there's a couple twists in there that are really well done.
Yeah, this is one I'm going to check out in the next couple of days for sure, because I've heard you talk about it a few times, and I'm surprised I've never have seen it before, but it's just one of those that kind of slipped through the...
You're gonna love it because it's under the same vein of like urban legend, Valentine. You know, it's that same type of vibe. Yeah.
All right. Next up, another underrated movie in my opinion, The Collector. For me, I'm going to say this is, I'm going to put this at the top of A tier. There's a case to be made that it could go in S. But like you said, I kind of want to see what else is down here before I start throwing movies in S. But yeah, I think The Collector is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking ahead. I don't think it belongs in S. I was going to say high B. I'm okay with A. I think The Collection is better. And I don't, you know, the sequel to this, I think, and that's pretty rare for a movie like this. But the sequel, I think, is even better than this one. But this one's really good. It does a really cool thing where, you know, you kind of want to know who the killer is, but the killer, it's kind of not like a typical slasher killer, you know, where there's this whole lot of lore behind him. It's kind of one of those like, man, this guy's just kind of a psycho going around doing so. And you kind of just, it's just, you know, there's some really guy. Inventive kills. And this franchise has some of the like most inventive kills, you know, so if you want to go A tier, I'm okay with it. I'd put it in B on my personal list, but we can go A.
Well, I'm going to go A. I'll put it like in the middle of A. All right. Cry Wolf.
I love Cry Wolf. Cry Wolf's great. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that it should be S tier or anything, but
I'd put it in B tier.
Yeah, that's what
I think it's better than My Bloody Valentine, but I don't think it's as good as like The Collector or 1408 or any of those we have an A.
I prefer this over The Collector. Like I prefer this type of movie. It's like a PG-13 horror. It's one that I can rewatch over and over again. Again, it's just one of those typical, you know, kind of emulating the Scream type thing. What's so cool about this movie is now you look back on it and it's like people are just now using like MSN Messenger and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's a little dated, but again, man, just a really good cast. And just a fun movie. And so, but I'm cool with B tier. But this is one that if you haven't seen, I feel like this is extremely underrated.
Yeah. All right. The Dawn of the Dead, the remake, the Zack Snyder, probably, in my opinion, Zack Snyder's best movie. I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, love his DC stuff, but I think this is. I think this is his best movie. I love Dawn of the Dead. I remember seeing this in theaters, and just the opening scene alone was like insane. I mean, people were like going crazy in the theater for the first like 10 minutes. I'm
going to let you lead this one because I know how much you like it.
if it's just me, I'm putting it in A. I mean, I think I would probably
I'm good
have
with
it.
A. This is one of the rare. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I'd probably have it at the top of A.
Yeah, this is one of those rare movies that the original was so beloved, and I feel like across the board, everybody was like, "Dude, this movie kicks ass."
Yeah, it's just
yeah. I'm good
it's
with
just
A.
so good, man. And they do the like every character that they have that's inside the mall has like their own story and their own thing, and they do the whole like. It has like these lulls where it's got like some comedy and some lighter moments, but then when it gets to like the crazy shit, it just goes all out. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it in A tier.
I'm looking ahead.
All right, 28 days.
To our movies. I'm looking ahead at our movies a little bit here. We're gonna have to. As much as I like Black Christmas, I don't know if I feel okay with it being up in A anymore.
Okay, well we'll
because I really like that.
Go through a few more of these, and we'll.
Yeah, I just.
All right, we'll move it down. We'll move it down to B.
A little bit special. Yeah, let's move it down to B.
All right,
because the more I was thinking about it, as much fun as we have with it, I don't know if it's at that caliber.
Yeah. All right. 28 days later.
Now, if this is 28 weeks later, 28 weeks later is one of the best zombie
28
films.
weeks later is better. Yeah.
28 days later is still really good. For me, it's C tier, and I know that a lot of people love this. Like I said, man, I've seen it once and I liked it.
It's really slow.
It's just not one that I revisit a lot.
And I rewatched it probably, I guess, like 2 weeks ago, and I'm all for like slow build and all that, but this is just so slow. And I appreciate what they were doing, and I still think it's a really good movie. And I'm kind of like you. I'm okay with C tier.
And again,
just because I think there's movies. Go ahead.
No, there's a delay, I think, because it seems like you're done. But go ahead. There's a delay. I'm just going to keep that in mind.
No, I was just saying, I think that 28 days later, I think there's movies that do the same thing but better that are either on the list already with Dawn of the Dead or are coming up. So I'm good with C tier.
I just feel like this type of genre is like you really got to do it's just so overdone, man. The whole zombie thing, and I know we just put a Dawn of the Dead remake in A, but again, that I felt like did something really different with it, And I'm not saying 28 Days Later didn't, They were kind of the ones that kind of introduced. I don't know what came out first, this or Dawn, but the remake. But around that time is when they first started establishing the really fast zombies. And so I don't know who did that first, but yeah, I just feel like Dawn is definitely one that I can throw in at any time and really enjoy. 28 Days Later, you definitely have to be in the right kind of mindset for that one, I feel like.
Yeah, it's darker for sure. All right, this one I think to me is a no-brainer. One of my favorite, my favorite horror movie of all time, honestly, and that's Descent.
This is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Now there's movies that like The Thing or something like that, where it's kind of like sci-fi and horror. Like, I don't know which one I'd put ahead out of those two, but I love this movie. I remember us watching this in theaters and just being like blown away. And this movie, I think, does the best job of any movie I can think of making you feel like you're in that cave with those women. Like, the scenes where they're like crawling through those tight corridors or those tight fits and everything, they're just so well shot that like you get a little bit claustrophobic just watching it. So for me it's a no-brainer S tier.
Yeah, I'm going to go S tier with it as well. I think that Neil Marshall directed this. Am I wrong on that? That name's just coming to my mind. It's got to be.
The director.
I just came to nowhere. I'm going to double check it so I don't sound like an idiot if that's wrong. But I'm shocked that there more didn't come out of like that. I don't really know what else he's directed, but I just feel like I'm kind of shocked he had made more like incredible movies because, like you said, this one's shot so well. He directed The Descent. And I think that my favorite thing about it is before even the monsters show up or anything. It's really good. Like, it could have been a great movie if it just would have been them getting stuck in a cave, no monsters, just the drama between the women. It would have been great then.
Yeah, And this is another one that's got a great, like, out of nowhere opening scene. I don't want to give it away for people that maybe haven't seen this, but it's got a great, like, opening, like 5 or 10 minutes that leads into everything. And it does that thing that horror movies do a lot where, you know, they give you a good scare at the beginning and then they kind of build the story.
Yeah.
But I thought they did, you know, every character in this movie is very distinct, and I just love it. I think it's great. All right, so Disturbia.
Disturbia is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love Disturbia, man. And I was the perfect target audience for it when it came out. I think it came out in April of 2007. I think I was, I didn't think. I know I was a senior in high school. But I'm saying, like, I'm pretty sure it came out April of 2007. And I remember we went and saw it, and I was like, man, I love that. Like, so I was the perfect age for it when it first came out, and I loved it, and I still love it, and I rewatch it at least once a year, and I think it holds up great. I know it's kind of a little bit of a ripoff on Rear Window a little bit, but I think they make it feel like its own thing. David Morse is incredible in this. Shia is great.
He's so good.
Yeah, the whole cast is great, man. Carrie-Anne Moss is great. I just love this movie. It's one of those ones, you know, you have some movies that, like, you can throw on any time and it instantly kind of puts you in a good mood. And even though this movie deals with some, like, different stuff, it's just, this movie is one of those movies. It's like a comfort movie for me. I want to put S tier because it's one of my personal favorites, but I want to see what you think about it, and then we can kind of agree on something.
I love this movie too. I don't know. I'm trying to look and see what's ahead. I feel like this is one that if we put an S, we're going to end up moving down.
I would, but if you would, then we can put it lower.
Let's do A for right now, and then we'll see. This is one we might move up to S, because I'm with you. I wouldn't throw up a huge argument if we end up pushing this for S.
And it's more thriller than horror, obviously, but damn, it's good.
Well, and again, I mean, there's a lot of movies that you could throw into that category too. You know, horror is one of those where, you know, it's like The Thing, or, you know, is that sci-fi or is it horror? You know, it's both. You know, even Predator. You know, and then you have like thrillers like Misery and all of those. So, all right, so let's move on to the next one. Drag Me to Hell. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of this. I think it's D tier.
I'm okay with D tier as well.
It's just not one I'll ever watch again. I know that horror movies are like famous for having bad endings, but this ending is just brutal. So yeah, I'm gonna say D tier for me.
It's not even that brutal, because when you get to the end, you just aren't really, you know, I didn't really, you know, again, man, it was one of these ones that I remember I tried to trick myself into liking it, and I really didn't like it, but I tried to like be like, man, it's gotten good reviews, like people seem to love it. Sam Raimi back in the mix. Everything about it I should like, but I'm with you. And I think it's the more time that's passed, the less I like it. So yeah, I'm good with D tier. I'm putting it ahead of Leslie Vernon, but it's D tier.
Final Destination. For me, this is
Final Destination 2, or is this 1 on this picture?
No, I moved it ahead. The Final Destination picture is actually the third one, but I moved it ahead.
Well, I have 3 Final Destinations on mine.
I know, and I'm saying
so. We're doing the first one.
Yes.
Okay. Just double checking.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, Final Destination is S tier. Again, this is one of those movies that when I left the theater, I didn't want to cross the street. I was so it got me with that whole death is around every corner type thing. I just think, and there hasn't really been a movie like this. It's so kind of original, and I love it. For me, it's S tier.
The problem is the first one's great and the second one is great. And I love the whole franchise, and that's why it's tough to rank them, since it is the original. I still think when you rewatch this one, the second one, if you want the coolest kills, I think the second one has better kills. If that's kind of what you're into. The first one, though, has the dread and the I think it takes itself more seriously Then this, like, once you get to the second one, they start kind of getting more into like, they still take themselves seriously, but you've seen it before. With this one, the kid, like the teenagers, like Devin Sawa, all of them, like you really feel like there's this weight to the story. And I love this movie too, so I'm going to put it in S tier as well, because I think that it's one of the most underrated horror franchises there is. I think every single entry but one has been really good.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. All right, I'll move on to Final Destination 2.
I think Final Destination 2 is incredible as well. I'm going to put this one in A tier, though.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, this one's great. I mean, this one does everything the first one does and does what a good sequel should do, and that's it. And amps it up a little bit to where you feel like you're seeing something different. And there's a couple of really solid kills in this one. There's a cool story. You find out a little bit more of the lore, so to speak. But yeah, A tier for me. I think this is like a really great double feature. Like 1 and 2. Like once it gets to 3, they don't have anything really to do with 1 and 2. I know that they kind of do, but like 1 and 2 feel like a double feature to me.
Yeah.
So A
right,
tier
Final
for
Destination
that one.
3. Final Destination 3.
I love Final Destination 3 as well. It's great, but I'm going to put it in B tier just because I feel like that's the way it should be. Like I feel like Final Destination 3 should be towards the top of B tier. I think it's got great kills. Again, great story. It doesn't have the same type of stuff as 1 and 2 does that make 1 and 2 so great, but I still think it's a solid entry. And again, opening scene's great. The roller coaster, the whole deal.
Yeah.
B tier for me.
I'm good with that. That's where I would put it. Either that I would put it like at the highest point of C tier.
I just think it's a step above what we have at C tier right now. We might change it, but I just feel like it's a step above. I think it's a really solid horror film. You know, like it's fun. It's fun. It's got good kills. It's entertaining.
Okay, I'm good with B tier. Okay. Frailty.
I'll let you talk about this one. I don't have much to say about it.
The first time I watched this, I was like, man, this is really cool. And you know, I always like movies that kind of throw a curveball at the last minute. But this is one that I don't think I've seen. I maybe have watched one more time since my original viewing. So it's not one I really come back to a lot. So I'm going to say C tier for me.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not going to argue it. It'd be C or D for me. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just
no.
There's not a lot there. There's not a lot there for me. You know, I'm just not a big fan of it. You know, and which is surprising because I love everybody involved, but it just didn't do it for me.
All right, I'm gonna put it low C tier. Freddy versus Jason.
Ton of fun. Not a great movie. You know, there's been better Freddy movies, there's been better Jason movies, but I think it's a lot of fun. I'm thinking low C tier.
I was thinking D.
We can go D. That's fine. I can
let's
go
D,
and
then we might move it up depending on what comes.
I will
next.
say I can rewatch Freddy versus Jason and have fun with it. So I think it's
I can too, but again, I don't. I mean,
D tier's
I just
fine.
don't.
I don't care enough about it to like push for C. You know what I mean?
All right, the 2009 reboot Friday the 13th.
I think this movie's great.
Yeah, for me, this is at least A tier for me.
I will say, it hasn't been able to top the first time I watched it. I've rewatched it, and the first time I watched it, I saw it in theaters, and I thought it was awesome. It loses a little bit for me. I was going to put B tier, but I could go low A tier.
We can go B. I'm looking at what's in B tier. I think it's on the same.
I'm going to put it at the top of B. I'm going to put it at the top of B with American Psycho.
The Grudge. I'll be honest, this
doesn't do it for me at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, when this movie came out, everybody was talking about how scary this movie was and how it was just, nobody had seen anything as scary as this. And I'll be honest, I wasn't that impressed with it. And I think it's one of those that as time has gone on, it loses. Like, the first time you watch it, it might be really scary, but once you have a couple viewings under your belt, I think it loses a lot of steam. I mean, I'm either low C or high D.
I already put it in D tier because this whole genre that they had going there was like almost like this ghost story stuff. It just never did it for me, man. And I mean, that's not saying that they're bad or anything. It's just my personal opinion on it is like it's just not for me. Like I'm just not a big fan of this genre of movies.
All right, the Rob Zombie's Halloween.
D tier all the way. I know there's a few people out there that really like the Rob Zombie movies for the Halloween. I hate them. I'm just being honest. I hate the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, and I think that there's some good work that's done in them. I think Rob Zombie's a pretty decent director. Honestly, I really do. But these movies, I just hate them.
Yeah,
so D tier.
It's hard enough to you kind of like get over the fact that he's an adult killing people. Like you come to terms, but then when you got him as a kid and he like I don't know, man. I just
don't need to know anything about Michael Myers. I don't need to know anything about him.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those things where the less you know, I think the better.
And the whole third act is a shot-by-shot remake. Just about. And the first 2/3 of it's like the backstory. I hate. I mean, Halloween 2 makes this one look like Citizen Kane, but because Halloween 2 is one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen.
It's awful. Yeah,
and no disrespect, because I think Rob Zombie's made some pretty decent horror movies, but this did not do it for me.
Hannibal.
D tier. I hate Hannibal. Silence of the Land. Like I know there's people that like Hannibal, and the reason I keep saying that is because I know there's people that would disagree with me. I'm okay with C just because I think he has Ray Liotta eat his brains in this one. Yeah. And that was a great scene. Ray Liotta does a great job in that scene. But I just didn't like the whole idea. That what made him so creepy in the first one is he was in that cell. It was just all dialogue. It was all imagination. Now in this one, he's kind of out there like the Predator, And I don't know. I'm okay with C, but for me, it's no higher than C.
I'm good with D. All right, this is a movie that probably hasn't been seen by most people. This is one that we traveled pretty far away to go see this when it first came out. This is right down our alley. Hatchet.
We went and saw Hatchet too.
For me, we didn't see the first one?
We didn't see the first one in theaters. We saw that one on DVD. Then we went and saw, because we loved Hatchet 1 so much. Yeah. We went and saw Hatchet 2 at AMC. Yeah.
I'm going to say B tier, like middle of B tier.
Yeah, Hatchet 2 is superior in every way. And so this one, I'm cool with B.
The Hills Have Eyes. This goes
D tier
for me. Yeah.
Don't even want to talk about it. It's just kind of a gross. I hate it.
Just skip it. Let's just skip it. Just skip it. All right, man. Shit. Hollow Man. For me, I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say C tier. It's not good, but it's got some like cool like. I think at the time this is about the way you would have to do Hollow Man. I do think they did a good job. I know you're not as high on Invisible Man as me, but I think it's.
I haven't seen Invisible Man.
Kevin,
I haven't seen that.
You never saw Invisible Man?
Not this most recent one. If that's what you're talking about.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I like Kevin Bacon, so I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think he does enough to keep it in C. Hostel.
Just the first one?
Yeah.
The first one's pretty good. It's a brutal watch, but because I don't want to be putting stuff in D tier just because it's a tough movie to stomach. It's effective in what it's trying to do, and I think it's a well-made movie. I think Eli Roth does a good job with this one as well. So I'm going to put this one in C tier because I think it's well done.
Yeah, I'm going to put it like in the middle of C tier because it's better than My Bloody Valentine or Hollow Man, but I don't think it's B tier. House of Wax.
I love House of Wax. Again, this is personal preference. This one is going right up there in A tier. It ain't going anywhere below because I think it's so much fun, and it has a great cast. When I look at all these movies have great casts from like the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s teen slasher craze. This one has a really solid Chad Michael Murray and Alicia Cuthbert and Jared Padalecki. They just kill it in this. I love it. They make you feel like they treat it seriously, but there's also this tinge of like, hey, we kind of know that we're having some fun with this too. Because, you know, and Paris Hilton, man, listen, Paris Hilton is entertaining in this. She's involved in one of the best scenes in the movie. She's not the best actress, but her scene in this movie is great. And so for me, this is A tier because I just think it's a lot of fun.
I'm good with A tier too. I'll never forget. Our sister is a big like Jared Padalecki fan, and she asked you about this movie, and I think she specifically asked you if he gets it bad in this, and you were like, "No, I don't think so." And dude, he has one of the worst deaths like that I can remember. Man, it's so brutal.
And here's the thing: I knew that he got killed, and I knew that they turned him into wax. But I totally forgot that they show him being turned into wax for like 5 minutes.
Well, not only that, but they show him. Yeah, they show him like them trying to like unwax, get the wax off of him.
Yeah,
and as they're doing it, they're like,
but it's an awesome movie. I love it.
All right, I'm good with A2. All right, Identity.
So this one we got to start maybe putting a couple things down because Identity belongs in A tier. I think Identity is extremely underrated. Once you know the twist, I feel like on other viewings, here's what sucks. First time watch for Identity is incredible. Every other time, it's not near as good. The twist, I think, was a detriment to the movie, in my opinion. I think it was a cool twist, but it's a detriment to the movie. I felt like it kind of took. It's almost, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but this whole like it's almost like it's a dream type thing. It just kind of, I thought it was cool when I first saw it, but when I rewatched this movie, knowing that in the back of my mind, it kind of takes away from it.
Okay, you're kind of making an argument for B.
I am. That's what I'm saying. First watch, I think Identity's easy A tier the first time I watched it. But when you rewatch it, that twist kind of takes away from it, in my opinion. What do you think?
I kind of agree with that. I think that it definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't live up the second or third time you watch it to your reaction the first time you watch it. Kind of like a movie like Shutter Island, is kind of like that. But I'm good with B tier.
I will say, before you know the twist, like the whole setup, the whole thing,
it does a really good job.
I love 90% of this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you love all of it for the most part. It's just when you rewatch it, it's hard to forget what you know is coming.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Now that I've gotten a little older, the twist doesn't work for me. Like when I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, what a twist!" Because I really didn't see it coming. Now, when I rewatch it and I'm like putting everything together, I just think the twist was kind of cheap. Kind of a cheap twist.
See, I disagree. I think it was
a cheap twist.
Oh, I disagree. You're wrong.
What do you think? It was a little cheap. They just said like, "Hey, you know what? M. Night Shyamalan did a pretty cool twist. How about we do it too?"
Yeah, but I think this one works.
John Cusack's great in this, by the way.
So is Ray Liotta. Jeepers Creepers.
And Jake Busey. All right. Amanda Peet. Anyway, we're just naming everybody that's in the movie. Jeepers Creepers, we know the director's a scumbag, all that stuff, but we got to just talk about the movie. And if we're just talking the movie, this movie's fantastic, man. It's a great movie.
See, I disagree.
Jeepers Creepers is so good.
I think the problem I have with Jeepers Creepers is what a lot of people have with it, and that's I think they made it worse by making him like a monster. I would have liked it more if he was just like a guy. Like that first 10 to 15 minutes when they're like driving and they just happen to look over and they see him like dumping those bodies. Like, dude, that I remember the first time I watched that, and I was like, dude, this movie's gonna be so good. And then he's like chasing them. But once you know, like once they reveal like what the thing really is, to me, it lost all steam. For me, this would be honestly, man, this would be like a low C tier for me.
No, it's much better than that. I mean, I know you don't like that it's a monster stuff, but okay, well, you got to say your piece on it. Let me talk.
All right.
I enjoy it. I think it's really well done. I think there's a great brother and sister dynamic at the center of it. You don't see that a lot. Like I said, we just talked about that with House of Wax. But I love this whole, like, it's almost like a road trip type movie. I think Justin Long is fantastic in this. I personally think it's B tier. I mean, and, you know, I guess we could put it in C, but I mean, I'm looking at the stuff that we have in B tier, and I think it's I think it's a step above what we have in C tier, and I think it should be in B. But we can go high C, I guess. You know,
all right. Well,
since you don't like that it's a monster, since you don't like that it's a monster.
No, dude, it's just not a good movie.
It is.
If we put it in B tier, if we put it in B tier, we have to move 2 or 3 down.
Well, I can already tell you that 30 Days a Night doesn't belong in B.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, you're lucky I didn't throw that shit.
You name one. It's crazy to me how we're about to put 30 Days a Night above Jeepers Creepers. It's crazy,
dude. It's way better than Jeepers Creepers. Way better.
All right, let's go high C because I don't feel strongly enough about Jeepers Creepers to fight for it. So C tier.
Mess with me. I'll put it in D.
I mean, I have my own list. I can keep it at C in mine.
All right, Jennifer's Body. Jennifer's Body.
This is one that when I first watched it, I thought it was garbage. I've watched it. I've only seen this movie twice. The second time I watched it, it was better than the first time I watched it. It's still not a great movie, but there's some fun stuff to be had. This is, when Diablo Cody after Juno, it's got that kind of quick-witted dialogue. I think the script is fun. Like, I kind of like the whole idea. Megan Fox is cool in this. But I'd still say C tier. I don't think it's bad enough to be in D, but I don't think it's good enough to be any higher than C.
I'm going to put it at the end of C tier.
Okay.
I agree with you. Like, the first time I saw it, but, in kind of movies like this, like, the second or third time you see him, you pick up on stuff, on jokes or little things that they did, and it makes it a lot better. All right, this is another one of my my favorites from this era, Joyride.
I'll let you go since it's one of your favorites.
For me, if it was just my list, I know we got some heavy hitters coming up too. But for me, I would have this in S tier. I just think this movie does such an amazing job of like making you care about these characters a short amount of time you're with them, and they do such a good job of like constantly keeping, they turn something that is kind of, and I kind of like movies where it's almost like wrong place at the wrong time type thing. But they just do so, like when you're in a hotel and you hear something going on in the next room, like that whole scene to me is just fantastic. For me, it'd be S tier.
Yeah, I can't put it in S. I mean, I was gonna say B. I'm cool with A, but if we put this in S tier, if we put this in S tier, Disturbia is going in there. Like that's you can either.
All right, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We'll put both in A. We'll put them next to each other. I'm okay. And I still
have my whatever it's called, like my token.
Yeah, and I got mine too for 30 Days a Night.
That's fine, but
your golden ticket
for 30 Days a Night won't move up on my list.
That's fine.
All right, so we're putting Joyride A tier. I'm putting it behind Disturbia and House of Wax and Final Destination 2, and behind Cabin Fever. Okay.
No, okay. That's stupid.
Hey,
you seriously think
we can order it however we want?
You seriously think Cabin Fever is better than Joyride?
I don't compare them. 2 different types of movies. I won't compare them.
Oh God. Okay.
But I'll just put it this way: I have Cabin Fever ahead.
Yeah.
All
right.
The Mist really good. The Mist is really good. The Mist is probably the weirdest one on here because half of me thinks The Mist is incredible, and then the other half of me thinks that on rewatches I'm kind of like, there's some things that aren't great about it. There's half of a great movie in there, and there's another half of a movie that's kind of just like it's too hard to suspend your disbelief.
Well, and then also it also suffers from that thing, kind of like Identity and other movies, where like once you know, like that ending is one of the most gut wrenching endings, but it's one of those that it's just like, you know, you're like, oh my God, like you could see why it plays out that way, but when you watch it a couple more times, it doesn't have that same effect. I'm gonna say like mid C tier for me.
Yeah, man. When I first saw that ending, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, man. But it's one of those things where, like, as a dad, you know, you would think, like, okay, that would probably be, you know, what, you know, because you don't want to see your family get massacred or whatever.
Things you don't do, man. You don't kill the dog. You definitely don't kill the kid in the back seat. You don't do it, man. Okay? And, you know, everybody was all on board with Tom. What makes it worse is this, okay? If he would have done that and then he even say he wasn't even able to, like, he didn't have a bullet left. So he wasn't able to do anything. He had to live with it. All right. That would have been fine if it would have just been like him sitting in the car and like you kind of heard the monsters closing in on him, fade to black. That would have worked. The whole thing though, where they're like, oh my gosh, hey sir, hey, oh my god, like, you know, that I think that's
what's in that. What's
about it is. Yeah.
What's in that truck? Nothing. There's nothing in there. I sure could use a warm meal.
I'm with you, man. That's the danger with these twist endings, man, is they can make or break it. So I'm good with, I'm okay with B or C. I definitely don't think it should be in D.
I think we have too many in B right now. I say we keep it in C.
I'm going to put it towards the higher end of C tier. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff about it. Mothman Prophecies.
I'd have to rewatch Mothman Prophecies because I have not rewatched it in a long time. I love this type of horror though. I need to rewatch it to get a current view on it. But I mean, it's the minimum is B tier. I think this is a extremely well done movie.
I'm gonna put it towards the back end of B. But yeah, it's one of those movies where I haven't seen it in a while, but it's one of those that I can't remember if there's even a death in the entire thing. But it's just constant like dread. Yeah, we do. But yeah, it's definitely a very creepy movie, and I think it's one that'll kind of last. Like every time you watch it, even if you've seen it a bunch of times, it's still creepy.
It's super creepy. Richard Gere's fantastic. Honestly, man, I need to rewatch it because if I rewatch it and it ends up being as badass as I remember, it could be in an A tier movie. But we'll put it in B just because I'm not sure if I was young and I loved it or if it's really that good.
Orphan. For me, this is going D tier.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Orphan. We can just say that and just move on.
Paranormal Activity. This is one of for me. This is one of the tougher ones because, as far as like what they accomplished with their budget and kind of how it was this like phenomenon, it deserves to be S tier. For me, I have a hard time putting it ahead of. I could see towards the bottom of A tier, but I can't put it above some of these other movies that are in A tier just because, for me, it just doesn't hold up like those other ones do.
I'm going B tier because these gimmick movies, and same with Blair Witch. It's like it's kind of the whole thing is based on a gimmick, and that is awesome the first time you watch it, and I think it's super effective. I don't think we should like knock a movie because it doesn't hold up on, but I can't help it. Like when you talk about the classics, it's going to be tough to tell somebody, hey man, you got to watch Paranormal Activity, trust me. And they watch it at home, it's not going to have that same effect. Opening night, before you knew what this was, the Paranormal Activity franchise is actually pretty good. Like the first 3 entries are really solid, but I'm going B tier. I'm okay with low A, but I'm going B just because the first time we watched it, this did get under my skin a little bit.
See, I'll be honest. I think this is one of those movies that when you watch it at home, it's worse. Like, it's scarier at home than it is in the theater. Because when you normally watch a movie like this, you watch this and then you go to bed shortly after. Then every little noise you hear is like, oh God, that's a demon. But I agree with you. I initially threw it up in A, but I know there's some ones coming up that I'm going to need to put above it. So I'm good with towards the top of B tier.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right, Red Dragon.
C or D. I mean, I'm not a huge Red Dragon guy.
Oh, dude, I'm throwing it in B. I think it's B.
Okay. Well, since you said it was B, I guess it has to go there. So let's put it up there with
I'm
30
just
Days a
saying,
Night.
dude, you're lucky that 30 Days a Night's still in B. Like,
Dude, when I'm looking at B tier and I see 30 Days a Night, I have to double check to make sure that's not E tier, because I'm just like, there's no way a 30 Days a Night's up there. Oh, it is.
dude, we have 13. We have 13 ghosts up there. I mean, get real.
Way better than 30 Days a Night.
No, it's not. You're.
Let's get to the next one, because this next one's a much better movie than Red Dragon.
I disagree with that, but Red Eye.
Red Eye is, I'm going to put it in C tier because we have too much in B, but Red Eye's really good thriller by Wes Craven, but I'm going to put it high C tier, but we got too much in B. We got to move some stuff down, but we're going to put this in C.
I'll put it at the top of C. I really like Red Eye. I think it's great. I think it's one of those, like, really good, keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time type movie. Cillian Murphy is fantastic in this. So is Rachel McAdams. So yeah, I'm going to go C tier. High C tier. Resident Evil.
I'm going quick here because I'm not a fan. I'm going D tier. Not a fan of this.
Yeah.
Got one cool scene.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, we were huge fans of the video game, and nothing is true to the video game just about. I wish I would have made an E tier, because I think some of these deserve to be an E tier, like this next one, Halloween Resurrection.
We're going D tier ahead of Leslie Vernon and Hillside. I'm putting it right above. It's going in front of Rob Zombie's Halloween. This is still better than Rob Zombie's Halloween. Resurrection is better.
Oh, I would definitely rewatch Resurrection way before I'd watch.
So I got that in D. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but it stays in D simply because of Busta Rhymes. It's going to stay. It's not going anywhere below.
Okay. All right, I have Saw 2 ahead of Saw, so let's start with Saw next.
Saw is A tier, man.
Yeah.
I'll settle with D tier, because here's the thing. I think Saw 2 is better than Saw 1. One of these are going in A tier.
I think
Saw 2 does everything
that
Saw 1 does, and does it better on every front.
Yeah. And Saw 2 can go A. I'm good with that. I'll put it towards
Saw
the bottom
2 is going at the
A.
top. Saw 2 is going right behind House of Wax up here. Or it's actually going behind Disturbia. I think Saw 2 is incredible. I love that movie. Saw 1, you're putting in B?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Saw 1. Saw 1, we got to spend a little bit of time on Saw here, because Saw is an incredible franchise. All right. I think the first one is fantastic, but I think the second one plays better the more you watch it. I remember seeing this in theaters. I thought the whole setup was better. I thought the kills were better. The games were better. The thing that the first one had going for it that Saw 2 didn't was that you hadn't seen anything like it before. But I feel like the protagonist on Saw 2, Donnie Wahlberg, I think was incredible in that, man. He was really good in this role. And for me, I just think Saw 2 is the best Saw movie by a mile. I think Saw 2 is so good. But Saw 1...
I wouldn't say by a mile, but I do think it's better than Saw. I do think it's the best.
Yeah, I should have... well, I meant it's the best sequel, Saw sequel by a mile.
Yeah. I'll agree with that for sure. So yeah, I'm good with that. All right, Scary Movie.
We got to go A tier with Scary Movie, because Scary Movie is so funny that it almost ruins some of these movies that I love.
Yeah, it does.
It almost ruins them. So I'm going to put it above. We might have to move Collector down in 1408. I don't know if they belong in A, but Scary Movie does.
I'm going to move Collector down.
Yeah, we got to move it down, man. B. And I think I'm okay with 1408 going to B. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. And I think we should move Hatchet down to C. And maybe even Black Christmas.
Dude,
let's just keep going. I don't want to have too many in B because B kind of is like we got a lot going there. Let's just see what we have at the end of it. By the end of it,
Scream 3.
Scream 3 is probably the weakest Scream movie overall. I still find things I like about it, but I'm going to go C tier with Scream 3. I still like it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It's just when you're comparing it to, when every other entry is like top notch, just about. I mean, it's going to be tough to live up to that. Session 9.
I know a lot of people think this movie's like absolutely terrifying, all this stuff. It's scary, but it's like I just think it's one of those that. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with C tier just because I think the idea is kind of unique. But C or D, I'm just not as big on this as some other people are.
Shaun of the Dead.
Wait, are we going C or D here with this one?
C.
Would you put it in? C. Okay.
Shaun of the Dead.
I think Shaun of the Dead. I almost want to go S tier. I love Shaun of the Dead. It's gotten better the more I watch it. I think it's an incredible movie. It's funny. I definitely want to go A tier though. I don't think it should be. High A tier.
I prefer Scary Movie to Shaun of the Dead, but I think they're neck and neck. I think it just depends. Do you like the more kind of like, spoof type comedy, or do you like and for me, the way Scary Movie does it is just, again, I love both of them, but I like Scary Movie a little bit better.
Yeah.
Scary Movie 2. I know we skipped Signs, but I'll come back to it.
Scary Movie 2 is, if Scary Movie 1's an A tier, I think you got to put Scary Movie 2 in A tier. But I'm okay with B.
See, I was thinking C tier. No, I was thinking C tier because if you take out the caretaker, Scary Movie 2 is not that good. Like, he makes that
because I don't care enough about the franchise, to be honest with you, to like go into depth about it. I think there's some funny. David Cross is great in this.
David Cross is good. All right,
I'm putting it above Hollow Man and Hostel, and I'm putting it behind 28 Days Later on C tier.
Okay.
Signs I think belongs at least anywhere from B tier up. I mean, you can make an argument that it's A tier because I think it's a great movie. I mean, not a great movie, a really good movie. What do you think?
I'm good with B.
Yeah, Signs is really good. I'm gonna put it.
I like it, but I don't think it's on the same level as these ones we have in A. Sorority Row.
I mean, I like this movie, but it's one of the weaker ones, man. I rewatched this one, and it doesn't capture the same things that some of these other ones did that were kind of in the same vein. I don't think this movie's really that good, man. I want to like it more than I do. Like, I really try to like it, but I think it's D tier, maybe C.
I put it in D tier. No, I think it is one of those that you can throw on like on a afternoon and just have fun with, but it's not. Yeah, it's not something I would ever own or anything like that. All right, so now we got 8 movies left, and just about all of these are like heavy hitters. So, all right, so Strangers.
I think Strangers is really good. I don't rewatch it a lot, but that shouldn't make the movie less. I don't want to keep putting stuff at B tier, but I think it's like a B tier movie.
Oh. This is way above B tier. I mean, I was going to make an argument for S.
Well, you can make that argument with somebody else because this ain't going anywhere above B tier.
This movie is terrifying. It is one of the, like, especially if you live out in the middle of nowhere, if you, like, this movie is so scary. I'm okay with A, I guess.
The movie, I mean, it's scary, but I don't know if it's like S tier caliber. I mean, a couple of these that I wanted to put in S tier. I mean, again, I'm okay with it being an S tier, but I just don't feel like it's got that classic what an S tier movie needs, you know. And I don't know, man. I haven't rewatched this one since the theaters.
Yeah, because you're too scared. You're too terrified to even think about putting it in.
I could go A tier. I can go A tier with Strangers. I can go A tier.
All right. The Ring.
The Ring. You're bigger on this one than I am, man. I'm not. I don't
gonna
think
say
The Ring's scary at all.
I'm gonna say B, because the first time I watched this movie really got to me, and I still think it's a pretty good movie. So I'm gonna put it towards the end of B tier. Trick or Treat.
S tier.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to argue.
Really,
with you
simple.
on this.
This is one of the essential Halloween viewings. It's a great anthology. They're making a sequel. I'm so excited. This is just, it's got everything. It's got fun. It's got fear. It's got multiple storylines. It just works. And it oozes Halloween vibe. And I just love Trick or Treat, like, a lot. And so for me, Trick or Treat is S tier.
I'm not gonna argue. I think S tiers. I think it deserves to be up there. I'm not as high on it as you are, but I do think that it's very unique. Vacancy.
I think Vacancy's a B tier. There's a part of me that wants to put in an A, but
I'm putting it towards the top of B. I'm good with that.
Yeah, Vacancy's really solid.
Valentine.
I love Valentine, but I'd be okay with like B or A. I'm not gonna argue it for S, but I really like Valentine. I don't think it. I think I'd be okay with A since House of Wax is an A, but B is okay as well.
It's better. It's not as good as House of Wax, though, in my opinion. I'm good with B. We'll throw it in B. 28 Weeks Later.
Man, I'm seeing what's next. I kind of like the next one better. I think this movie's really scary and really good. So I almost think you got to go A tier.
It's at least A.
Maybe B.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put it ahead of. I don't know which one I prefer, this or Dawn of the Dead. But I'm gonna put it right next to it because I think they're equal, on equal footing. So yeah. All right, got two left. Zombieland.
I love Zombieland, and I'm not trying to make S tier this whole thing, but I think Zombieland should be an A. It's one of those ones that I liked a lot more, like, you know, when it first came out. But I still really enjoy it, and I think it belongs up there with Shaun of the Dead. So
see, I think I was thinking B tier because I don't put it on the same level as like Scary Movie and Shaun of the Dead. I think it's like a tier below that. I'm
okay with B tier. That's fine.
Okay, I'll put it towards the top of B. And all right, last one, Secret Window.
I really like Secret Window. I don't think it belongs in S or A tier, but I really like it, and I think it should be like top B tier because I do think it loses a little bit of effectiveness after you know the twist. I still think Johnny Depp and John Turturro really do a great job with this, so I'd say B tier.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so right now we have 3 in S tier. We got 3, 6, 9, 11 in A, and then looks like 20 something, and then B's pretty filled. C's pretty full. I think it's pretty even though. Is there
Here's
anything
what I think we should do though? Yeah, I definitely think that we should maybe. We need to move something. I think we need to move 1 or 2 movies up to S, and we need to move 1 or 2 to A, or move them down to C. So, like, if we could see a movie from B tier that could make borderline A, I feel like we should move it up. Like, I'm kind of looking at American Psycho here. I'm really the only one in B tier I think could go in there is probably American Psycho or Signs.
I'm okay
You know,
with American
I love-
Psycho.
All right, let's go American Psycho up to A.
And I say we put Disturbia, and for me, Joyride in S.
All right, I'm willing to do that because my personal list, I'd have Disturbia in S. So we'll throw Joyride up there too. I think I'm going to move Black. I think I'm good with Black Christmas at B. I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I think we could move Identity down to C. We could probably move Identity to C, but
no, I think it deserves to be where it's at.
Yeah, I think I'm good with this list now.
That
feels
too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I just think Disturbia, like, if this is our list, I think it'd be criminal not to have Disturbia and Joyride up there, because to me, I don't think they're as good as like Final Destination, but they're in that same tier of movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like when I think of classic thriller horror movies, those always come to mind. So that's I think that's a pretty good list. There was none that we haven't seen, so that's good. There was a couple that like I haven't seen or you haven't seen, but so yeah. But all right, well, that's our list. Let us know what you would move around, what you think's different, and thanks for tuning in.